Hello, everyone, and welcome. You have chosen the Scenic City Sports Podcast, your destination for local sports news, be it high school, be it professional, or whether you just want to listen to us ramble on about professional wrestling or old Seinfeld quotes or crazy movies that we all like. Welcome to the Scenic City Sports Podcast, brought to you by the fine folks at Gary Thacker Insurance over at 2382 Battlefield Parkway. You can reach them at 706-866-8283. Also, the Chattanooga Flower Market, 8016 East Brainerd Road, 423-899-2440. Phil's Primetime Pizza down in beautiful Chickamauga, Georgia, 122 Gordon Street. That's 706-375-4448. Our good friend Greg Payne, host of Restricted to the Dugout with Greg Payne and the Payne Mortgage Team. You can reach them at 423-645-9404 for all of your mortgage needs. And finally, Choo Choo Barbecue, who make it possible for us to bring you the scoreboard on Friday nights. The Choo Choo Barbecue of Chickamauga scoreboard. You can reach them at 12960 U.S. Highway 27 at 706-375-7675. And as Ringo Rob likes to say, you don't know Q until you know Choo Choo. We also want to say a special thank you to Matthew Mays and the good friends and members of Jupiter Coyote, one of our favorite bands, and they provide the music for the show. Those guys have always been great to us, and we hope you guys will reach out and try to check out their music as well. So sit back and relax and hold on, and we'll see where we get to. And welcome, everybody, to Scenic City Sports, episode 23, the Scenic City Sports Podcast, brought to you by the fine folks at Gary Thacker Insurance and all of our all-star sponsors, the folks out there that make this all possible for us to bring this podcast out to you each and every week. Rusty, Scott, and Rob joining you guys from Studio X here on this. Birthday. Thank you very much. On the weekend of my 48th birthday, and if you would have bet me $1 million, if you'd have bet me $10 million, I would not have taken the sucker's bet that the Final Four would be the four teams that we have in the Final Four right now. Because
if you have that bracket, you're lying.
I was going to say, if you've got that bracket, you are you need to go buy some lottery tickets, and you need to go on Jeopardy and any other lucky type thing. You need to go to Vegas. I mean, UConn is not a surprise as far as that's a team that we've seen there a bazillion times. We don't think anything of seeing them.
They're probably playing the best of anybody right now. And they were a 4th seed.
And they almost didn't make it out of the first round. Lest we forget, they were down going into the end of that game. But San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, and the I'm flabbergasted if I'm being honest. I mean, it is every television executive's worst nightmare. Yeah. Only the 4th Sweet 16 in the history of the tournament without Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, or Kansas.
I agree with what you're saying there, Rusty, and we've talked about this now for decades, it seems like, that for ratings purposes, they want those blue bloods.
Yeah.
They want those blue bloods. But you know what? I find it a little bit soothing that we're going to be watching some virtual unknowns.
I do too.
Then those 4 blue sets of uniforms that are out there all the time.
Yep. I don't have a problem with it, man. I mean, the thing about it is you can't be hypocritical in this situation, because you can't, out of one side of your mouth, talk about how great it is when these Cinderellas take out these giants. Well, we've all known that, and I even said it last week when we were talking, that one of these days, one of those Cinderellas was going to make it all the way to the dance. Well, by golly, we got a couple of them this time around.
It's upon us now.
And I remember a few years ago, George Mason went to the Final Four. I think they were in 11 or 12 that year. Made it all the way to the Final Four. And there's been a few other teams that have made, got as far as the Elite 8, but to have this many, I mean, when your top seed is a 4, and San Diego State's a 5, it's not like they're a bad team. And
what's changed?
Because
what's changed to allow those schools?
You can get athletes. Everybody can get athletes now. Yeah. With NIL and all that kind of stuff, you can get athletes. And the programs like this, you take that Florida Atlantic program, for instance, they built that program the old way. We're going to bring in some young guys. We're going to get them to stick around, and we're going to be successful.
There's the key. There's senior-laden teams that have played together and have built chemistry. And they're not, some of these, the Blue Bloods,
they're all one-and-dones now.
One-and-dones, or guys that have been there 2 years max or whatever. These are 4 teams that have been there and played together and know how to win ball games, and
kind of what we might have
bad team in the bunch.
Kind of what we went back and potentially saw that time when a Wisconsin team beat a very NBA laden Kentucky team.
Yes,
because they were all a bunch of seniors. But so what you're saying now,
go back a couple rounds ago, a veteran Tennessee team just beat the crap out of a very, very young Duke team that apparently was favored to beat Tennessee. I still don't know why.
Because they're Duke.
Because they're Duke. That's the only reason.
Because they have blue uniforms.
That's what happens when you get a bunch of older guys and know how to play together.
Also, just when we spoke about all sports, but is the transfer portal immediately helping fix somebody that was not fixable in that speed of time?
You can.
Kansas State picked up two transfer portals that were the 2 best ball players on its team, likely.
True. Now, the one kid from Florida, if you remember, the one from Kansas State, the one kid from Florida, his name escapes me, is the kid, if you remember, he collapsed on the court with
so he's on Kansas State now.
Now he's on Kansas State's team. He's fully recovered, and he played really, really well for him down the stretch, but this San Diego State team, to me, that's the team to watch right now. They've been on the cusp. If you go back and remember, Kawhi Leonard went to
San Diego State. Yeah.
And I remember they played Tennessee a few years ago and scared the crap out of
And we
Tennessee.
talked about that a few years back about
beat them. I can't remember.
The
Gonzaga
of the world that was coming.
Yes.
And now it's kind of a mainstay. They're there.
Yeah.
Now they bailed out a little bit faster than they probably thought they were, but we've been watching them come for a long time, and now all of a sudden there's a host of those types of teams.
How good would Gonzaga be this year if Big Tall Kid was still there this year after 1 year?
Yeah, and the thing about
throw him and Drew Timme, Malachi Smith from Chattanooga.
Well, the other thing too is factor in that every time one of these programs gets really good, gets some, like take Florida Atlantic right now, if they ride this train the right way, they'll parlay this into many, many years of good recruiting.
Well, it's a great place to live if you can hang out down there.
That's a great
now
place.
All of a sudden, you're good.
But you're also you think about it. If you're a guy, a good basketball coach, and Rick Barnes is a good example to me at Tennessee. Tennessee's recruiting strategy is not the same recruiting strategy that you have at Kentucky and that you have at Arkansas and that you have at Duke and stuff. They go after those kids that they think, this is a high character kid, this is a kid I could see staying here for multiple years. We are going to accept that every 3 or 4 years we're going to be good. The thing about it is there's a lot of those kids out there. There's a ton of those kids out there. And a lot of these small programs now are picking up on this. Those are the kids I want. I want those kids. Those kids make my program look better. They make our GPA good. They put butts in the seats. They make us successful year in and year out. We may not make a deep run in the tournament every year, but we're going to be there every year, and we're going to make noise in our conference every year because we just reload year after year after year, and every now and again we bring in that 1 or 2 stellar athletes that push us over the top for that one season. That one kid at Florida Atlantic, is it Williams or... he was the one that was like, he was the one of the best recruits in South Florida when they got him as a freshman. And, that kid is real deal NBA level basketball player. Yeah. But he might be the only one on that team that's on that level, but he elevates everybody else around him.
Now, they're going to have to, figure out who's going to be the new head coach.
Yeah, because this guy's going to get.
Yeah, that's just the way it is. If you're a small team nobody's ever heard of,
probably making $900,000 down there.
Shoot, I bet he ain't making $200,000.
He's maybe you're making probably $450,000.
Yeah,
something like that.
Well, they're paying Lane about $1 million.
He'll get a significant raise by somebody, and somebody will snatch him up. Within 2 weeks, you'll see his name pop up at the new school, and somebody else will have to take that job. At least they'll have some momentum build up. Here's the one thing we haven't brought up yet. Florida Atlantic is in the Final Four.
Yeah.
Miami
is in the Final Four.
How close are they on
they're spitting.
It's Boca Raton and Coral Gables.
Yeah, they're spitting distance to each other.
How
would
you have ever believed that?
You can't
basketball programs from Miami.
You can't find a seat in any sports bar in South Florida right now.
Oh my goodness.
And imagine if they wind up against each other, because the matchup could fall to where they play each other.
So the Final Four is already set in men's.
Final Four is set. It's San Diego State and Florida Atlantic on the one side, Miami and Connecticut on the other side.
Okay.
So one way or the other, you're going to get one of those two Cinderellas all the way to the big dance.
And the Big East has got to be happy that two of their former members are.
Yeah, I know. Yeehaw!
But San Diego State is probably going to be a member of the Pac-12 or what's left of the Pac-12. I
can promise you, though, that this is one of those that, you talk to anybody that prognosticates basketball games and they're all just shaking their head like, what in the I mean, I don't even know what to say.
Like I said, it is still refreshing. I know it will be. It will be a little bit of a hit from the standpoint of the ratings, because you ain't got the four big blue bloods sitting out there that everybody's got to pull for with the fan bases that stretch across the country almost, probably, except for maybe the West Coast caring about any of those four over here. If somebody like Gonzaga or UCLA could have been out there, then that would have grabbed that side of the country.
Well, you got one team in the Northeast really high up in Connecticut. You got two in Miami, and you got one all the way in San Diego. So,
and you got a bunch of mad SEC fans that
their own fault.
Maybe like yourself, that's not going to watch it.
Well, no, I'll probably.
Oh, Scott will watch it because I know I will. I mean, it's still
busy working, but yeah,
it's still the tournament. I always watch it. I mean, I always like to. I always like they always manage to find those stories, and it's always fun to watch that aspect of it. And I do. I enjoy that part of it. I will. What? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I got a college basketball trivia question for
Hit
you
it,
guys. If you guys want to take a shot at it.
Absolutely.
Larry Bird.
Well, never mind.
World be free.
Do you remember the Metro Conference?
The Metro Conference.
Metro Conference.
Maybe.
Started in 1975.
Is that the conference? Is that the one that had like DePaul and?
No.
No, I didn't know. I don't. Right off the top of my head, no, I don't.
Give us the team that was in it then.
Well, I was going to say, who are the original 6 members of the Metro Conference?
I don't know. Who are the original?
I don't know. For some reason, I saw this today.
Metropolitan being a New York area.
Well, a large city.
Okay.
So there's your hint.
That's what the Mets are, the Metropolitans.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever called them the Metropolitans.
Seattle's hockey team used to be called 120 something years ago.
Yeah. Now they're the Kraken. Well, there
were 6 schools that made up. They were the original 6 members of the Metro Conference.
What's the city?
Well, most of them are named after cities.
Obviously, he doesn't want anybody to know the 6 schools. We're not going to get it.
No, what, like NYU and schools like that?
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is going really, really well.
Yeah, no, I have no idea, man.
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Memphis State. St. Louis. Tulane. Louisville. And the Georgia Institute of Technology.
Oh, wow. All before a couple of them left for the ACC.
Here's the thing.
I was living then. I can't say that I shouldn't know this.
Brought in South Carolina and Florida State. they were members of the Metro Conference in basketball, and there was a few more schools have been added.
Well, I remember when South Carolina for a while wasn't playing everything in the SEC. I remember that short stretch, like in the '80s.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember that. I do remember that.
Part of the Metro Conference.
Well,
week out from MLB.
Yeah, I was going to say. I was about to ask. I mean, obviously there were a lot of people that talked about the last out of the World Baseball Classic. Teammate faces teammate, and Shohei Ohtani bust one by Mike Trout.
That was a slider. That was a friggin' slider. After he threw 2 fastballs.
Yes.
Right by him.
Here was the pitch that made me queasy. The first pitch he threw, Mike, was called a ball, but it had such a wicked motion to it. It was a slider. It had such a wicked motion to it. I think Trout said,
"Nope."
I have no idea.
I ain't even going for that one.
But it froze him because it had such a late movement, and it probably broke 6-7 inches away. And they called it a ball, and I think Trout right there said, "I'm in trouble in the sequence."
Well, then if you watch any of that Japanese team, Sasaki, their other pitcher, the 21-year-old, that some people are saying is the best pitcher in baseball right now, and he's not even signed to a major league team. He plays in Japan. That kid is going to get signed by somebody eventually.
I heard some interesting comments about his game and the fact that he could possibly, Buster Olney and them talking about possibly $600 million when his contract comes up this year. Tony. Because we're talking about somebody that does something very well from both sides of the game. Now, what they brought up was that there's been a lot of good ball players that came up, Scott, as a dominant pitcher and, by the way, dominant hitter, but had to make a choice in life. And they were talking about maybe the possibilities of schools and franchises getting away from that and saying, we don't need to make him choose.
I'm surprised
if he can do both, he can do both.
Yep.
I'm surprised that hadn't happened already. If you remember Micah Owens, who I think went to Georgia. Once he was from Oconee County. But he played, when he came up, he was with the Arizona Diamondbacks. And he, as a pitcher, hit like 348 with like 5 or 6 home runs and 30-something RBIs. And I was like, why isn't more people doing this? But once you get out of high school, and if you're in a major college program or you get into the minors,
you had to be forced to make a pick
or
on what I wanted
for you.
to
do. They barely let you bat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're leaving a possible great, and I understand somebody gets hit by a pitch, and then whatever. But I'm like, if they can help your ball club score runs, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, but how do you pay that guy fairly? I mean, he's a 20-game plus winner pitcher.
Could be.
He's he's potentially a 30-30 hitter.
He's more like a 40 home run guy.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting a slugger and a no worse than number 2 pitcher in the same body.
Most likely somebody's won.
And some agent who's smart enough is going to go, okay, so
you have to wonder how long he might stay somebody's won. Okay, it might be a short leash, but I really thought it was an interesting because in growing up. And if Coach Payne was here, we could talk about this. But, growing up, how many times did we see that the best ball player on the team, and I know these are young ages, but they still could have counted over into being an MLB prospect, that the best hitter was also the best pitcher.
Yeah.
That's commonplace.
Yeah.
But as time rolls on, like Scott said, either I make a decision that I don't want to continue one side or the other, or somebody makes it for me.
Yeah. You specialize. That gets back into the whole thing about, that goes right back into that whole argument of kids playing multiple sports. 20 years ago, a small high school, 5 athletes, if you had 5 good athletes, you could play and be good in every sport because those 5 athletes would just go from season to season to season. And now, you got kids that, hey, you want to play, you want to come out and play soccer in the fall? No, I'm playing fall league baseball. Can't do that.
There's a fine line there, I will say, Rusty. When you aren't quite good enough to move to the next level, but you keep playing all sports.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been advisable that somebody stopped and honed in on one of those sports to be the next level wanted.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be Mr. High School.
Yeah.
In all sports, and you're going to be get one of the superlatives.
You're gonna be Al Bundy.
But you might not move on to the next level because there was something you didn't do great enough. Now I'm not necessarily a proponent of stopping and just isolating on one sport, even though some people might have thought I would. I really think multiple sports are good for you. Stump and me used to talk about baseball players getting a whole lot of good out of being on a football team. Didn't necessarily have to be the stud on the football team, but be on the football team.
Yeah, just toughen them up a little bit.
I hope you like it too.
Yeah, well, you don't want them out there playing something that they despise.
Don't like it,
I mean,
like it.
Yeah,
we could have 3 local kids start the season in AAA. From what I'm getting, I know for a fact Tucker Bradley, that just came down yesterday. He's starting the year in AAA Omaha for the Royals, so he's one step away
knocking on the door
from Kansas City. I believe Dylan Bice is probably going to end up starting the year in AAA.
Yeah, I just saw his granddaddy today.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah, that's the talk right now.
Yeah, I think he had told me that he.
And what organization was he?
Marlins.
He's with the Marlins. And then
they won. His team last year in AA won the league championship. He's Wayne.
Pensacola.
His pawpaw showed me the picture today of him getting his ring.
And I believe
Blue Wahoos.
Blue Wahoos.
And I believe Connor Broom, Robert Broom, he's not up there, is going to be starting AAA for the Indians organization. He was with AA last year.
Really a good high school pitcher.
Yeah,
really was.
And don't know what Cole Wilcox is going to do. I know he was in Single A, and now of course he had Tommy John surgery. Now he's back.
And I did not know Tommy John was his.
I think it was Tommy John.
I didn't know
surgery.
that.
Or it was he had a major surgery that was that cost him about a year.
Okay.
But he's back.
He got He got traded to the.
He got traded to the Tampa organization.
Which also, by the way, good kid that played ball back with us in the day, against us more than with us. Charlie Culberson from Calhoun has been released. I saw from Tampa Bay, so he's a free agent.
Did I see something saying that the Padres offered Ken Griffey Jr. a minor league contract?
Well,
I don't know, but I saw something
Did you
today.
see what I saw about the money?
Yeah.
The Reds?
He's free. He hasn't played a decade, and he's going to be the 4th highest paid player.
Yeah, $3.9 million.
Now,
this year.
We talk about Bobby Bonilla's contract manipulation, but Griffey done something.
Yeah,
he deferred
some money. If you hadn't seen the video of him taking BP with the entire U.S. baseball team watching him, Mike Trout looks like a 7-year-old on the fence with these big old wide eyes. Oh, God, man, are you kidding me?
Older than I am, and I'd be doing it.
I'd be, it's like sitting there watching one of your heroes right in front of you. I mean, most of those guys grew up in that era, and a lot of them, he was a legend by the time most of those kids came along.
I can't remember if it was 14 or 15. I don't think we were 16s, but my sons went up to play in a tournament just north of Cincinnati in a community called Hamilton, Ohio. And that's where Ken Griffey grew up playing. Played high school there. And I don't know if we played on the field that he supposedly played on or not. I don't remember that. I don't remember the field being all that great. But we were in the community of where he grew up.
That's
and
cool.
I'm growing up there, I guess, because his daddy was a
Cincinnati Red. Yeah.
Time, so.
Yeah.
I had to go to Chandler, Oklahoma. I think the same town. It's where Mickey Mantle was born. I've been there twice now, and seen the house he grew up in. And they've got a huge statue out there in front of the high school.
And what is that, Chandler?
I think it's Chandler, Oklahoma. I know it's Oklahoma. I think it's Chandler.
Okay.
And matter of fact, we were sitting there at this old diner getting some pictures, and this guy had walked up. I didn't know who this guy was, and he knew who I was, and he said, "You guys, out here looking around?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "This is my second trip, on 66." And he said, "You've been over and seen statue of Mickey yet?" And I said, "Well, I saw it last time." I said, "We're going to take my mother-in-law over there and show it to her and stuff and get some more pictures." And he said, "My dad knew him." He said, "I used to go to his house all the time." And I'm like, I'm freaking out. I was like, you got to go to Mickey Mantle's house. He's like, yeah. He said, I was about 12. He said, I'll be honest. He said, I was more interested in the fact that he had a color television than the fact it was Mickey Mantle.
Well, and Mantle played. Yes, I was alive, but he played at his prime was before my time of watching.
Yeah.
And so I didn't see him and study him and admire him as much as, Stump was in awe of his game. But I miss the fact that, guys, we have grown up not really watching who's been called the second coming of Mickey Mantle and Mike Trout because of where he plays, who he plays for, never being out here. And I would hate to see him be in the East Division against the Braves with like the Mets or the Phillies or somebody, but I'd love to have gotten to see him play on a regular basis instead of just an all-star game and a game at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, we actually went to an Angels game last year, and he was on the disabled list and didn't get to play. Ohtani did play. He didn't pitch, but he did play that day, so at least we got to see him. But it'd been nice to see him play.
They say he's Mickey Mantle that we don't watch.
Yeah. He plays in a major market.
He's a real student of the game and stuff too, though. Like
I think what they're also saying he's got the same physical attributes.
He does, but he's a very smart baseball player.
And grew up in New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean,
so he's on another side of the world.
But he's just a class act.
But I will say this, and he probably had the times that he could have been difficult and demanded his way out of there, found his way back to the East Coast, but the Angels have been willing to understand who we've got here, and they've just kept throwing money at him.
Yep.
And I guess if you get the money and you're living in Southern California, things ain't all bad.
We're competing against the Dodgers for that market out there. And the Dodgers are one of the best teams in baseball.
And had he been on the Dodgers, I think he'd been even more seen than the Angels.
Oh, God, yes. He'd be, the star of stars. Now you wait and see if the Angels don't get a little more national TV time this year because of what Ohtani
of him and Ohtani
did in the World Baseball Classic. But, yeah, if he had been anywhere else, we'd be seeing him a lot more. But, yeah, they're going to keep paying him a bunch and just hope to goodness he stays because eventually he's going to decide,
Yeah, but is he? But is he? I mean,
I've got to.
He's not a rookie, but he's got great numbers, and I hope he surpasses a lot of other numbers.
He's in his prime right now, but
I don't know if he stays there or not, Scott.
I don't know, man. You think about it. You can
name another Angel besides Ohtani and Trout.
Oh yeah,
you can't. Yeah.
I mean, you think about it though. If you're Mike Trout, you're playing in what is inevitably, you might as well say a small market because you're not, you're competing with the Dodgers and you're not winning that.
You're in a big market, but you're kind of like the White Sox.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're kind of
the White Sox of Chicago.
You go about your
to get a big following in California.
Sure. I mean, you go about your business out there in relative obscurity. You're making a crap ton of money, and you don't get near the attention that everybody else gets. What's wrong with that?
And never play in
playoff
baseball. We don't even see him when he gets.
No, I mean,
I know I'm a Cubs fan, but good Lord, that'd be a perfect fit for him if the owners would just decide. Yep, we're going to go ahead and pay the money. But
the thing about Trout is Trout is that guy that I don't know of a single derogatory story I've ever seen about him. I mean, you've never seen him cause any kind of incident on field. You've never heard of him involved in anything off the field. His contract negotiations, all of a sudden, always just go as quiet can be. There's never anything about him that demands attention other than he just goes out there every day. And a lot like Tony Gwynn, just go out there every day, put your numbers up, and go home.
Well, he never created work stoppage for himself.
Nope.
Y'all gonna pay me a little bit more? Okay, I'll take that.
And
just keep moving.
And his contemporaries are guys like Bryce Harper, who
they create a stir.
That create a stir. They're just turds.
Well, and again, Bryce Harper's contract's 13 years, $30 million, $330 million total. That's a bad contract for the Phillies at about year 7, 8. They're in trouble with it.
Yeah,
because they don't have $30 million man no more.
No,
but they got to be paying him.
But yeah, I was going to say, but he's still $30 million man. He still wants that $30 million.
Last year on that 10-year, $25+ million contract. On the last year, the Yankees paid it and cut him from the team.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He wasn't even good enough to be on the team.
We'd rather give you this money and not deal with a headache.
We'll find another body.
Get on out of here. I'll find somebody to play third base.
That's what will happen with them. But they've stuck themselves to a 13-year contract.
Well, I think what you're going to see, and it's crazy to think about it this way, but I honest to God think that you're going to start seeing a transition in Major League Baseball to where the average career of a Major League Baseball player is going to be 10 years or less because of all of this specialized training and workouts and the way these kids play year-round and stuff like that. At some point, there will be such an influx of talent in the major leagues that you'll be able to cycle those high-priced guys out every few years, and it's only going to be the teams like the Yankees or the big market money teams, the Yankees, the Dodgers, teams like that are willing to pay the extra money. Everybody else is going to be like, you know what, we don't need you. There's 5 other kids in AAA right now waiting to get in line and get a shot.
Yankees would have grabbed up probably Trout by now if he would ever just created his own work stop and said, okay, now I'm going to go to the highest bidder. And the Yankees probably, but he was always willing. And I will say this for the Angels, to not try to jerk that talent around and say, okay, well, we're not going to
no, because they know what they got. Absolutely.
They realized, okay, well,
how many zeros? Okay, yeah, hang on, let me write that out.
Well, I mean, if we've got the best ball player in baseball, why would
you mess with it?
Him up?
Yeah, we need him.
Why do you mess with it?
Put butts in the seats.
Well, and
there was a time that, Scott, and it goes back a ways, that the Angels actually did, and it's actually kind of been before Trout's time, the Angels actually did kind of try to accumulate enough talent to be
They won
a World Series in what, like
2002?
I was going to say 2 or 3 is what I was thinking.
They haven't done that.
Yeah,
no.
It's been pitching, honestly, for the most part. I mean, they hit the ball pretty well, but they can't. I forget how many games was it last year.
Well, they gave
a home run.
Gave Pujols a big contract. Another one that you paid him for a lot of what he had already done for you. He gave him a 10-year contract.
You're paying for his legend.
He gave you 5 really solid years, and then 5 years that he was going to age up. They've done that with some other guys too. So they've spent money, but they haven't. I don't think they don't know how to develop a team from a standpoint of their minor league.
You don't hear much about the Angels minor league system. I mean, they've got one of the best pitchers in the game right now, but they've only got one, and he can only pitch every 4 or 5 days. So I bet at least he can hit every 4 or 5 days. But
yeah, you're getting something out of him every day.
Yeah.
Well, and the Angels maybe, if Buster Olney's correctly in talking about $600 million when his time is up next year, the Angels realize what they have in him.
Yeah.
But I think some other teams are going to realize it too.
Well, and that's the thing too with, like, you take Ohtani, the financial boom that he could bring to your team is so deep reaching, well beyond just him being a good player on the field. I mean, you look at his nationality, you look at what team he potentially plays for somewhere in the U.S., you're going to get a whole lot of people that want to come out and watch him because, hey, that guy looks like me. I want to go cheer for him. You're going to sell jerseys out the ass. You're going to,
if he's not a Yankee, he's a Dodger.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, there's only like maybe
the Mets have the money.
Maybe 3 franchises that can afford him.
I don't know if they'd have
the Cardinals.
I don't know if they'd have the money to pay for him, or that they would. But man, would he be something in Seattle?
I literally was just sitting there thinking that same thing as you were saying it.
It's a pitcher's park.
It is.
But he's strong enough to hit home runs, and there's the legacy of Ichiro.
I was going to say, as much as they loved Ichiro up there.
They drew in that Japanese market and audience, and that's one of their favorite teams.
And they have flirted it with getting better from time to time.
Yeah, they were really good here last year, year before. Yeah. That's I could see him maybe for a little less money, knowing all the.
Well, if there's some other reasons there we don't know about that could take a little less money and go, but I still think it's a.
But he doesn't strike me as
a Yankee Dodger world.
He's just going to go out and try to get the biggest the most money he can.
Well,
his agent may try to push him that way.
Well, agents do that. He doesn't strike me
as a player that would do that. I may be wrong, but
yeah, no, I mean,
let me tell you who won't be in the running for him. Braves. Oh, yeah. They never get in those hierarchy battles of money.
They used to.
But they won't no more.
They used to.
They won't throw the most at you.
It depends on who takes over as owner. Because, Liberty Media is apparently looking to sell it. So if they get an owner with deep pockets that finally will do what needs to be done, maybe.
But that guy's in New York as a Met owner.
Well, maybe they'll just sell the team and they'll just move them to Nashville and be the expansion team.
Maybe Arthur Blank decides to cut his losses with the Hawks and buy the Braves.
Is he on the Hawks too?
Don't he own the Hawks and the
he owns
Falcons?
The Falcons and Atlanta.
No, that's right. He owns Atlanta. For some reason I thought he owned the Hawks too, but
Michael Jordan will buy him. He's getting out.
I was going to say he's coming out like a bandit on that on that minority share deal that he's selling. I mean that's some big time money. I could sit here and talk about we could sit here and talk about these aspects of baseball because obviously we're a week away from the season. I mean, everybody's, I guess the old expression is hope springs eternal. Everybody's team, while they're 0-0, still thinks that they got a chance. When us as Braves fans, those of us that are probably are thinking, hey, this is going to be a pretty good year for the Braves, and I do think it's going to be a good year for the Braves.
I saw where somebody was petitioning, not that they haven't done this before, that opening day be a holiday.
Oh, I'd be,
and I'm for that. Just as I'm for
Super Bowl Sunday
being moved to Saturday, or calling it a
holiday, or Monday, the Monday after the Super Bowl.
I still don't see why you can't. I still see why you can't make it on a Saturday.
I never understood that.
I don't see that how that
I've
messes anything
never understood
up.
that.
Anything up.
But
marketing.
Yeah, I mean
more than anything else, and Sunday is NFL football.
But you don't
think somebody would miss it if they was played on Saturday night, do you?
No, they could. I mean, there's a better chance.
That's
of
my
people
bridge night.
Being out. Yeah,
that's my bridge night. I'm playing pinochle that night. I can't watch the world.
Boys, I know y'all play pool. Y'all go say, well, that's our pool night.
Yeah, no. We just talk them in the bars, turning the dome. I mean, speaking of the NFL. The next, thing in the pecking order is we got the draft coming up. Mm-hmm. There have been some pretty decent off-season moves made by some franchises. I read something earlier that apparently the guy that is representing Lamar Jackson, that the NFL has told the NFL teams not to deal with this guy because he is not an official agent of the NFL. So, you could see some potential.
I was under the impression Lamar didn't have any representation.
Well, he didn't the first time around, I don't think.
Now he's got somebody that's
I saw
wanting some money.
I saw a potential thing the other day speculating that the Titans could be looking to move Derrick Henry, which I thought was ridiculous. Because, at this point, what are you going to get for him? A 5th or 6th round draft choice is pretty much what you're going to get.
He's still one of the best running backs in the game, and if they trade for him, they're gonna ask for at least one number one.
Yeah, and I don't think they'll get it.
Number two, I don't know if they'll get it or not. I don't think they're going to trade him in the long run, but he's still. And of course, I'm a Titans fan. He still right now has got trade value. And,
he does. Yeah.
You're Rand Cawthorn. You're the new GM, and you've come in there, and you're going to clean house and rebuild. Maybe you have to go that route.
Well, you've got.
But you also got to think about selling tickets.
I was going to say. You still got to have.
Face your franchise.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you still got to have that face the franchise.
What I'm worried about is they might release Kevin Byard.
Yeah.
And he's really been the face of the franchise on and off the field. The kid from Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
There's reports that, they're asking him to kind of restructure that contract that he signed a couple years ago, and he may not want to, and that may lead to him.
Well, I never did see if this particular signing took place, but I did see that there was talks of Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets. And I know that's been real contentious. I know he sent some real pissy tweets back to Adam Schefter and stuff. And
I mean, he basically come on the Pat McAfee show and said he was going to be playing with the Jets. Now the problem is they haven't come to an official agreement yet. So I don't know what's going to happen. The ball is I would say the ball is kind of in the Packers' court right now. That tell the Jets, hey, if you want him.
Yeah, come to the table.
We're going to need a little bit more than what you're getting. But they're making they just released a guy, or they traded a receiver the other day. There are speculations that it's going to open up a slot for Randall Cobb.
Oh, well, I saw
already signed.
They signed Valdez-Scanlon, didn't they?
Well, no, it was Alan Lazard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, here's a guy in Rodgers who's not even technically on your roster yet.
And you're already
the Packers.
And you're already custom tailoring the receiving core to him.
He's like, I'd like to play with this guy. I'd like to play with this guy.
Sure would like to have Randall back.
Well, just trade all the Packers to the Jets. Why don't you just swap franchise?
Yeah, this just swap whole teams.
That'll make you feel better. And
but part of Rodgers'
I don't know.
complaints last year of playing with the Packers was his receiving core.
Yeah, and man, got better as the year
he got better. He didn't spend any time with them early.
No,
I think there's a little bit of a delusionalness there in him from the standpoint. Okay, we paid you $50 million. You got the most money that's anybody's ever paid. You're considered one of the best it ever has. But we got a young receiving core, and you don't want to work with them until game day. Yeah. And it's their fault.
Well, I can't stand the guy. Never have been able to. Obviously, that's the Cowboys fan coming out of me. But at the same time, the one thing that I will always back up of all the claims that have been made about him over the years is you name me more than one decent receiver he's ever had per year. Most years he's got he'll have one decent receiver and one halfway decent tight end, something like that. He's never had the receiving core that other quarterbacks at his level have had. I mean,
did he play with Antonio Freeman? I know Favre did.
I think maybe his rookie season he may have had Freeman.
I was like Freeman.
But I mean, Driver.
If they were together, they weren't together long. Not with Rodgers.
He's never had that 1-2 punch at receiver that a lot of guys have. I mean, Cobb was a good weapon for him, but let's be real honest. Randall Cobb is not a number one receiver on any team ever. No. I mean, he's at best a Wes Welker slot receiver type. And so, I mean, I would back Rodgers up in that. I mean, so much so that I would say it this way. If you threw Dak Prescott to the curb and you put Aaron Rodgers behind that Cowboys offensive line with that Cowboys receiving core, he'd throw for 7,000 yards next year. Because there's guys out there that can catch the football and he's got options.
Yeah.
But he's not had that in his career and still put up MVP-like numbers.
Well, I agree with that because they have talked about that numerous of times that the Packers have wasted one of the all-time franchise quarterbacks and should have multiple Super Bowls with him, but they've not really put the pieces around him.
Nope.
That some folks
he can't do it all by himself.
But you know what, Scott? Sometimes, I mean, you know you're going to pay him a lot of money. You give him $50 million, and it cuts people out.
Yeah,
it cuts the other folks out.
You just wonder how many of these franchises, and we might have brought this up before, but how many of these franchises are finally just going to start deciding we don't need to pay a quarterback $100, $200, $300 million because we have nothing to go with.
Well, a lot of folks were absolutely ill at Cleveland Browns and what they did for the guaranteed money and because they knew that he was setting a precedent that the rest of them were going to be in that same jam.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where they're at here with Lamar.
Yeah, the Ravens
don't want to do that. They got their reasons and they're bona fide, but yet Lamar's sitting out there and saying, no. They just did it for this guy.
Who hadn't played,
and I might be better than this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, he's proven Deshaun Watson, before his legal trouble, was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. The year before, outstanding. outstanding numbers.
Yeah.
But Lamar Jackson's been a league MVP.
But also, and you hear the argument.
But the league has caught up to him at this point too.
On the other side, that he's missed X number of games due to injury,
he has.
And he will continue that process with his style. Yeah. And there probably will come one of those seasons that you won't get him to play much at all, and you're going to give him guaranteed money. Now, why they're so mad at the Browns for up and doing that is because it's setting a.
Well, yeah, you're taking that number. Well, I mean, where you're really going to be pissed off is if you're that team whose quarterback just went into free agency for the first time, and you know that you're going to put them on the franchise tender, and somebody just signed their quarterback to stupid numbers like that, and that immediately takes your quarterback's numbers even higher than what you thought you were going to pay.
His agent just picked up the phone and said, "Listen."
Oh, his agent just wringing his hands like hell. Yeah, that's just that much more money.
He's made so much more money because of that.
I mean, you think about...
The Ravens are playing hardball with that, but the problem lies in, who else you got?
Well, you know what?
Who else you got? You
really want to look at them and be like, you know what? You're a product of your own making because you did that same crap with Joe Flacco just a few years ago.
Well, they did that. But
overpaid for somebody that...
Yeah.
But we also talked about Dak and Jerry a few years ago. We said, he's in a rock and a hard place.
Yep.
He's probably not worth the money that you're talking about, but you ain't got nothing better right now.
Nope.
So do you back up and punt?
Yeah.
And start over?
After you've centered a team around him for all these many years, and now you're going to... And that's where they're at. You look at the Cowboys right now with, it was refreshing to see them cut Zeke Elliott loose, and I know there's a lot of people out there going, oh, he still got tread on the tires. No, he don't. He does not.
Goal line back.
At best. At best.
Not for the kind of money they gave him.
No.
That was.
No, the Cowboys are going to try to go out. The Cowboys will do everything they can to get the running back out of Texas in the first round or the second round, if possible.
They have to take him in the first.
But if you look at the addition in the offseason now of Brandon Cooks to go along with Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb, Dallas's offense is in a great position. Now you've added Stephon Gilmore on the other side opposite Trayvon Diggs, and the Cowboys actually made some, dare I say, smart moves in the offseason that if some chance that Dak Prescott is not your starting quarterback, let's say he gets hurt or whatever, Cooper Rush showed last year that he was adequate with what they had around him then. Now he's just got more weapons. Yeah. He's liable to walk in there and take the job.
Jerry said something last year, and he tried to throw Philadelphia and the Rams under the bus about going in all in 1 year
for 1 year.
But I think he misunderstood the Philadelphia. I don't think they're in that boat. The Rams are. The Rams are already talking about letting the quarterback go.
Philadelphia is never in that boat.
Philadelphia didn't get in that boat.
I despise the Eagles with a passion and always have, but the one thing that you cannot say about them is that they don't have a tremendous player personnel department, because I swear to God, over the last 25, 30 years, they find more 5th, 6th, and 7th round guys that turn into starters, especially at linebacker and defensive tackle and those meat and potatoes positions. They dig them out of nowhere.
The big offensive lineman, Jordan. Was a rugby player.
Yeah.
In New Zealand.
I mean, they are masters at finding the diamond in the...
By no means.
No, but I mean, you can't discount what they can do.
But you remember Jerry making a statement.
Oh.
And I thought, well, now, one of those teams I can go along with. The other one, I don't see how you're even throwing that bad blood at them.
I just think Jerry's to a point now that he needs an interpreter, because he just... what he says and what really, it's...
perception and reality with him.
Yeah, because, I mean, Lord, he's 70-something years old, almost 80-something years old now. I mean, I think he's 80. Yeah, he's 80 or better. I think he's like 82, 83 at this point. I mean...
And I understand Super Bowls are he's on the short run if he's going to see one.
Every bit of.
I think he understands that to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. And that's why there was so much expectation on Dak, and it comes with so much criticism, because you paid him so much. Mm-hmm. And at the time that we said that, well, he's not really probably going to be worth that, but what else you got?
You don't.
And you didn't have anything else.
Well,
so
and
you just did what you had to do, what the market said.
But you also got to realize too, and everybody don't even think about it this way, but you look at the team that Dak inherited in year one when he went 13-3. I will argue till I'm blue in the face, if Tony Romo was the quarterback of that team, there's a good chance they won the Super Bowl that year. That Dallas team was very, very good. And Tony Romo had for all the dumb, brick-headed moments that he had, by God, he won a lot of games in the waning moments of fourth quarters throughout the years, and he would have won some of those games that Prescott could not have won. But you judged him on a team that had been built around someone else that was loaded, and as you started losing those players because you couldn't pay them the money, then all of a sudden Dak's inadequacies here, there, and elsewhere start showing. Now, is he a great person? Absolutely. You're never going to hear him getting in trouble off the field. I mean, he's a model citizen, just a great human being. I mean, he won the Walter Payton Humanitarian Award this year. But that's what you're getting. You're getting a statesman. You're not getting to use an NBA analogy, you're not getting Kobe Bryant. You're getting Brian Shaw. I mean, it's just not what you're getting.
Brian Shaw reference being thrown out there.
Well, got to go deep in the Wayback Machine on that one.
Rated player for the Orlando Magic.
That's right. Well, and he was with he played for the Celtics for a little while too.
Yeah, coached the Lakers.
Yeah.
Talking about that Orlando team the other day, Penny Hardaway and
Shaquille O'Neal, Dennis Scott, Nick Anderson, Horace Grant was later added to that team.
Yeah,
couldn't stand prosperity though. Let it all go.
Well, Penny got hurt, and that didn't help. And Shaq had too many people in his ear promising him too many zeros, and he wanted to be a movie star, and made such gems as Shaq Fu and.
That was a good 30 for 30.
Oh, I thought you were about to tell me that was a good movie, and I was like, "Come on, Scott."
No.
Man, Shaq Fu is really underrated. Yeah, they get them together and they have a conversation. It's really cool. Like they kind of bury the hatchet and all, and it
I
was.
I told you the last one I saw, and if y'all haven't caught it, catch it because it's the Ravens winning the Super Bowl that year.
I saw some of that the other day.
They had a group of them up on the stage, and they had a big audience, 300 or 400 out in the auditorium, and they were just telling the stories of that year and.
A month before Tony Siragusa died.
Oh.
Yeah, Siragusa was up on stage.
That dude's hilarious, man.
It's
some funny stuff. But and I don't remember really liking that coach back then, but I enjoyed listening to him. I enjoyed listening to him talking he was pretty plain spoken.
Yeah.
Underrated coach.
Oh, I think so. I mean, I think.
And when when he got fired, which happens, whether you win a Super Bowl or not, he never. And I don't think he worked his way back into the league, did he?
Mm-mm.
I don't think.
At one time, I think he was.
He got into commentating.
I was going to say, yeah. Well, I mean, you think about it, man. I mean,
I've already won a Super Bowl.
If you've won your Super Bowl and you can work 3 days a week commentating, you get there on Saturday, work Sunday, and fly home on Monday, use prep time, whatever. I mean, if you look at how much money Troy Aikman's making right now as the main voice of what's he with ESPN now. You look at the money that him and Joe Buck make. I mean, I'd take it. I mean, I wouldn't think twice. And you don't have that week in, week out, just on the edge of a heart attack at all times because you're up till, you hear those guys describe what their days were like. Like I've heard Gruden talk about,
I bet Gruden's regretting the decision of going into the Raiders organization. He was making $6+ million a year, Scott, doing Monday Night Football.
Well, I mean, you think about it. They get to the facility at like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
If they go home.
Yeah.
And leave at 10 or 11 o'clock, go home, get 3-4 hours of sleep, and do it all over again the next day.
It's a grind. And those guys it's a grind on the entire staff. But Mr. Head Coach is getting a lot more money than Mr. Second, third, and fourth.
Head coach gets none of the credit and all the blame.
But they're all still there too.
Well, I mean, and and they're paid well. And, I think there's a lot of people out there that think that, I could do that. No, you couldn't.
It wouldn't be easy.
You could not. I mean, the physical, I'm telling y'all, in a secondary sport that I coach, this past week, because I had a little bit of an allergy problem the whole week long, I felt like somebody had beat my behind every day I woke up, and all we had were 2 matches this week. I can't imagine our baseball coaches that wind up with 3 or 4 or sometimes 5 games in a given week of getting to school at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, not leaving until 7:30, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night.
And something you don't have to do, even though I'm not downplaying golf, you don't have field maintenance.
No, I don't have to maintenance the field, thank the Lord.
And that is a chore.
But I will tell you that Monday we had a fundraiser, and I didn't walk out of that fundraiser until almost 9 o'clock.
And that fundraiser was where?
With Choo Choo Barbecue of Chickamauga. On Tuesday, we had a golf match that I didn't walk off that golf course until almost 8. And on Thursday, we had a golf match at Windstone that I didn't walk off that course until almost 9 o'clock. It was dark as our last group was coming up the 9th fairway. We stopped. You
plainly tell these people, don't look for your ball.
No. I mean, we literally...
There's people out there that just can't quit.
But that's the thing that... Until you've coached a sport at a level other than rec league, you don't understand what is involved in all that. And I mean, even at my small level versus what I know others go through, people do not people talk about, well, that guy shouldn't make that kind of money. Why shouldn't that guy make that kind of money? If it's out there to be made and that guy is giving up what he is giving up year in and year out, that dude deserves every penny that he can get.
Like I already said, the coaches don't deserve $8, $9, $10 million a year. Well, next time you got a physics professor that can sell out a 100,000-seat stadium to lecture, and bring in $15 million on a Saturday for the entire university and the surrounding area, let me know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me know when Dr. Sheldon Cooper is going to give espouse on his views on the Higgs boson theory.
I'm not getting paid that much. Well, yeah, because you chose to go into your field.
You chose not to go to school. You chose to,
And you talk about, a Major League Baseball crew that's going to basically be at it for 7 months.
Yep.
Counting starting in March and in spring and going all the way till it ends, and a lot of those hit and misses on seeing their families.
81 games on the road.
Hit and miss seeing their families.
81 games on the road.
Well, and that doesn't count the air miles that we're.
Yeah.
We get off of Truist Field at 10 o'clock and we go catch a
red eye to Miami. Yeah.
Because we're supposed to be playing the next day at 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that happens in a lot of sports. I heard, I think it was a hockey team the other day. They had like an overtime or something, and they had a game the very next night, and they showered and went straight to the airport. Got there and they had like a 1 o'clock game the next day.
Well, and we've talked about this many times. All the records that are out there that could fall, and the ones that won't. And the one that I promise you that will never fall is Cal Ripken's.
Oh yeah,
because nobody's
interested in it.
Nobody's interested, and from a management standpoint, nobody would allow
you don't want anybody. You don't want anybody to break that record.
It stands forever.
Load management.
Yeah, yeah.
Can't have that.
Well, folks, that's going to do it for us here on this Sunday night. The one thing that you can guarantee on is that we'll be here every week, back to our normal Sunday night time slot, 7:30-ish. Make sure that you check in with us each week. Make sure that if you're out there that you check out our sponsors, all of the great people that make Scenic City Sports possible. That's right. We will catch you guys on the flip side.